Got a statement to make tonight. A little different start, a little different show tonight. First of all, you can't save the industry if you can't even save your own peace. Why do I say that? Well, we're going to talk about tonight why no is a complete sentence. And there's new software. I'm going to go over an article tonight about it, new software and a promise to fix something that's not even broken. Coming up on Truckin' Frontline.
The Drive Act is BS. It's pandering.
I think trucking is a very good career.
The best thing you can possibly do is put forth a bill you know has no prayer in heck I've ever seen above. I don't like speed limiters.
Majority of the blame is the companies.
We don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
And remember, folks, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
You are with Truckin' Frontline, your experience into the headlines, journalistic insight, and a trip down memory lane about the best way to get trucking news. Call our studio, 860-785-3547. Sound off on your opinions and make sure you are heard when it comes to trucking news. Collaborative think tank for advanced trucking journalism at your service. Today we are talking about why no is a complete sentence. You know, you're dialed in, you're with me. I want to make one thing crystal clear. If you're on the road and you get offers and you get put in a situation, think about the word no. Realize that no is a complete sentence. It is an option. And there are a lot of us out here that don't seem to realize that. No is a complete sentence. Let me repeat that to you, just so that you understand, because your brokers don't want to hear you say that. Your dispatchers, they don't want to hear you say that. You know, your inner voice may be saying, you know what, maybe not, but you jump on it anyway. Okay? You don't need to justify or explain or sugarcoat. Not when your time is being wasted. Okay? When you're actually being put in risky situations, no is a complete sentence. When someone's trying to hustle you on a backhaul that no one else in their right mind would take, no is a complete sentence. Now, I'm not saying you should sit out there in this industry and turn down every single thing. But a lot of us cannot deny the obvious truth. And that's that sometimes there are those out there that think they have no other choice. You know, we have an industry in front of us that has a lot of possibilities, and we have a lot riding for us. But the trouble is, you've got to learn when to exercise that complete sentence. You've earned the title captain of your vessel, captain, chair, however you want to word it. It's been said many ways. Let's be honest. Some of you guys seem to think so hard about the fact that were it not for mega carriers, there wouldn't be an industry. Or you seem to think that were it not for the brokers, you wouldn't have a place to, you know, all of that is true. But just because some of that is true doesn't mean you can't exercise good judgment. So here's my challenge, you guys. When something don't feel right, when the rate just isn't enough, when the vibe's a little bit off and you have a little bit of reservation, say it with me now. No. I think if we use more of that and use a little bit more of that critical thinking going on, a lot more can be done with this industry. Because at the end of the day, guys, the industry may run on fuel, but your truck runs on freedom. If you don't exercise that no and actually put your freedom to the test, we may someday run into a place where we do not have a choice. Coming up here on the Trucking Truth and Broadcasting Network, we're going to talk about something that may give us the need, and I do mean extreme need, to exercise that talent a little bit more than we have in the past. Stick with me. It's about to get real, guys. Before we move on, though, I want to kind of bring your attention to something I've been talking about the last few days. A fellow in the audience named Thomas runs an outfit. He's got a store featuring my shirts. Go ahead and take a moment. Go to a driverslife.store. Look for, if you're so inclined, the Trucking City logo on the shirt. News on all things trucking, right available to you. If you want a piece of my channel and you want to support a good cause, certainly something to look into. I encourage it, because I'll tell you something. It's right now, for the immediate future, going to be the only way you can get a piece of my channel until I change things. So we shall see what happens. In the meantime, we are looking ahead and checking out a number of things. Let's get the party started. Tonight's headline talking about Uber Freight. A division of Uber Freight Technologies claims that by leveraging artificial intelligence, they've managed to reduce, this according to an article linked down below, have at it if you'd like, they've managed to reduce empty miles by up to 10 to 15%. They've reportedly now moved over $20 billion in freight since 2023, serving numerous Fortune 500 companies. Let me take it back a few years. This is not Uber's first lap around the freight track, okay? Remember when Uber Freight stormed into the freight world with big promises, right? They'd revolutionize logistics. They'd cut out the middlemen, and that they'd empower drivers. So what did we get? We got a digital broker with power centralized in Silicon Valley and a few corporate boardrooms. Fast forward to today, they say now their new AI system is cutting between 10 to 15% of empty miles on the road. Sounds good, right? Well, here's the kicker. Nearly 35% of all truck miles nationwide are still driven empty. God knows I can't talk right tonight. Challenge with the English language. We'll go there later. And Uber Freight claims 2/3 of that could be eliminated. If only we just shared more data, right? Like, that's not a problem already. Let me ask you, and you put this in the comments. You tell me how you think about this. Who holds the keys to that data? Who actually flips the switch? Is the guy in the driver's seat like you in that Peterbilt 389? Or is it a handful of suits or people in corporate offices somewhere that have no idea on what it is to run a freight platform? Well, you and I both know the answer. They say it's all about efficiency. Well, we've seen what that word means in this industry, right? Fewer opportunities, fewer lanes, and more control taken away from people who actually move the freight. Now, this is not my opinion, mind you. This is stuff I've seen on videos and in the comments of said articles. So, in my opinion, AI is a boon if used right, but there are those that say it's all about more control. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. We'll get back to the studio line in just a minute. Bear in mind something. Ronald Reagan once said, trust but verify, right? Remember the reasons he said that. But in this case, let's flip it around. Trust, but don't forget who's behind the wheel. When it comes to trucking, that I think is an ultimate safeguard against what happens. Now, here's my question to you guys. Do you guys think, and we'll go around the panel and take your calls and read your comments, do you guys think AI will bring more freight to the table for us owner operators? Or is this just another move to squeeze out people like you and me and make us a thing of history. Let me know what you guys think. Let's actually bring your opinions to the front lines. Welcome to the show, Thumper. Give us a little intro and let us know how you're doing today.
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. You can hear me all right, right?
Yes, sir. We can hear you
Okay.
perfectly fine.
All right. I replugged my microphone in here. So,
There you go. There you go.
well, Thumper, Bo, he's napping, it looks like.
It looks that way.
You can find me on TikTok and YouTube, Thumper and
Mhm.
Bo.
Mhm.
I guess my opinion on that, yeah, it's to squeeze the little guy out. It's all about money and who can make the most money the fastest. And you know, I mean, if you sit there and look at the statistics from when I first started on your show,
Mhm.
what the percentage of the mega carriers to independent owner operators to what they are now, I'm sure the mega carriers have grown, which
Mhm.
they always will, and you always see these owner operators leasing on to the mega carriers because you know the mega carriers want to make more money.
Right.
They're trying to squeeze us out is what it is, and we need
Well,
to.
I mean, do you really think that is the ultimate goal? I mean, because before AI, 90% of, well, not all of the transactions were run through an actual person. So,
Well, it
you know,
is.
it's almost kind of in part and parcel to how people actually see this video. People are
Yeah.
watching this live show because of an algorithm of different ones and zeros that were put together that say, X amount of people would be interested in the very discussion we're having right now.
Well, yeah.
So there's no human involvement in it. Other than
No.
the person watching the video, there's really little said.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, yes, but I mean the Uber AI stuff. I mean, literally, it's not pointed directly
Mhm.
at us, and I know I'm gonna bring up a subject that's probably gonna start a good discussion.
Nothing wrong with that, my friend.
The Uber IA, in my opinion, is more pointed towards the brokers, eliminating the brokers,
Yeah.
and kind of giving us
That can be a good thing.
Yes. Well, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and I'm not saying it's a good thing.
Because I think one of the things, and by the way, before I go into this point, good for you, Griff. I'm glad you're getting set up with a new carrier. I wish you the best. Thank you for being part of the show tonight. But yeah, when it comes down to it, the biggest problem I see where it comes to brokers in the industry is something a fellow YouTuber pointed out on a video, and that's foreign influence. You've got a multitude of foreign-based brokerage houses that reside outside the states, and they have no idea what's going on here. So a fellow
But
YouTuber
also,
made a good point that these people need to actually be required to live here in order to deal with our markets.
Actually, that could flip the other way around, because if you could go into your settings on your phone, your iPad, whatever, and you could switch the language.
Yep.
So they're you know the online stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, okay, you have the Uber AI. Well, if it's in a different language, that's encouraging people to get into a truck, which is taking jobs away from the Americans.
Yep. Well, we're going to encourage anybody watching, if you've got an opinion and want to have your say so on the show or want others to know, give us a call, 860-785-3547. We are going one by one through a panelist. I mean, the list of people and the amount of experience will probably blow your mind. But we've got well over a couple of 100 years worth of experience residing on a panel tonight. Let's bring on some more guests. Gentleman that was on last week's show, gentleman named Last Dollar. Welcome to the show, my friend. What is your thoughts in terms of AI? How do you feel about the opening story?
AI, I believe they're taking out the discussion of rates
Mhm.
because with an actual person, you can choose to up your money.
Mhm.
If they set it in a computer that they can't go up, there's nobody that's going to go up.
Well, so you think part of the argument removed from the whole equation is the negotiation ability?
Yes, I believe that's going to be a big thing because then they can set the rates where they want them, whether you want it to be that low or not.
I'm going to partially disagree, only because I think negotiation is being built into the AI equation. But I'm going to bring on a couple more guests, and we're going to circle back to this argument. I think you're partly right, but I also think, in a sense, it's going to do a little bit of both. So let me go around the panel, and we'll entertain this entire discussion. It's going to be a fruitful hour, so everybody just hang tight. Let me bring on another guest, a fellow named Hammy, also from last week's show. Welcome to the show, Hammy. What's your thoughts on this whole AI thing?
There's good and bad to everything.
Mhm.
Dollar said it. Negotiation. What's the? It could
At
be
the
a
end,
good thing because you could actually see what they're getting, what the broker's charging.
okay.
There could be
At
a
the end of
lot
the,
of.
so at the end of the day, you think it goes a way for broker transparency?
I could see it going both ways.
Okay.
Do I trust AI right now? No,
I'm
it's
going to
too
ask
new.
you. I'm going to ask you a trigger question. Do you care
boy.
what brokers? No, seriously. And somebody on the panel currently backstage will know what I mean by that. Do you care what other people haul the load you're on for? Do you really give a damn whether somebody else had it for $200 more or $200 less? Does it matter to you when you're booking a load?
No, because that's on you as a driver or you as a company.
Okay.
Dollar.
So do you see a possibility of AI possibly helping in that regard?
It could. It could go either way.
Okay. All right. Good take. Good take. I'm gonna continue going around. We'll come back to you. So hang tight. I'm gonna minimize everybody being in here. I'm gonna take some people and go around the panel. So just bear with me. I'm not losing anybody. Fake Truckin, welcome to the show. God bless you. Welcome. What's your thoughts on AI? We've kind of gone around a couple of times about this. So by all means, get your say so.
I really agree with Dollar what he said. We already deal with AI as we're booking our own loads. One big company that comes to mind. I mean, you have CH Robinson. You have Ally Logistics. If you call them, they have a very good AI that you think you're talking to a person, and you're not.
Really?
You're talking to a computer. And all it's going to be is just to control like what we're going to make on a load. You know what I mean? That's what it's going to be. They're going to have their AI is going to know exactly how much a lane is going to be, how many trucks are available for that lane, and what they need to pay to get that product moved. Okay. Bottom line.
Let me ask you this. I mean, you actually dovetailed to one question I had already pre-selected to ask everybody on the panel. Would you trust a machine to handle your business decisions, such as what we're talking about? Or do you think that only a trucker can make these decisions? What's your thoughts?
I trust a machine to drive down the road. I trust a machine to control the temperature of the freight in my trailer. Is that saying I'm agreeing with all the AI stuff? No, but let's be honest, guys. Here, let's be honest. We're monkeys, okay? Like we are, and I'm not trying to be mean. These computer software engineers and these AI computers can think and come up with ideas and plans faster than we can. That is just the truth. Yes. I'm not saying I like that truth, but that's the truth. You know, it's like a truck.
Yeah.
The people that engineer the truck, know why the truck shifts the way it shifts. You're not going to shift it better than what the computer can shift it. I'm not saying it's always what you like or where you want it to be, but the fact is the efficiency side of it is the computer can do it better than a human being can. That's proven.
Hang tight, Faye, because you brought up a point, and I'm glad you did. As I brought Don on, because Don, you were from last week's show, and you brought up this very topic we were talking about just a second ago that Faye kind of intimated on, in that you rely on a manual transmission, and you yourself have issues with technology and automation. Do you want to kind of dive in on that?
Well, I'll dive in a little bit, but if I dive in fully, we'll be here for the next 3 hours or more.
Yeah, don't want to have that kind of show. But I remember our discussion from last week, so I thought I'd give you a chance to kind of engage.
Since I drive off road so much, I don't trust an automatic transmission.
You don't have to trust it. You don't have to trust it.
But the thing is I'm in a 6-axle dump truck in 3 foot of mud, with 22 ton on. I know that I have to be in the lowest gear possible to pull away from the pile. That transmission doesn't know it until I start giving it fuel. And by then, you could have lost traction. You could have snapped a universal joint. That's just an example.
I used to do the same thing. I worked for I used to work for a heavy haul trash company that we had to go in the landfills every single day. And we switched from manual transmission trucks to automatics. It was a huge learning curve for somebody like me that was used to trying to rock a truck with a manual transmission is very easy. Try rocking a truck with an automatic transmission. It's not
almost
easy.
Impossible.
It's not impossible, though. That's the thing. Once you learn how to do it,
you're
able to do it. My argument is when it comes to an automatic versus a manual transmission, right? Everybody that's driven a manual transmission has missed a gear, right? If you tell me that you never miss a gear, I will look at you and say you are a liar. An automatic transmission that's operating correctly is never going to miss that gear. Right off the top, that means it's more efficient. It can operate better than a human being can.
Right. I'm going to do something that probably would be, let's just say, a little difficult under normal circumstances. But this conversation is getting so engaging. I want to give everybody on the panel an opportunity to weigh in. If you guys would like to challenge his opinion on this, certainly have at it. If you would like to, because he dropped out. So, what's your thoughts on what just went on between Freight and Don? Anybody can weigh in on this. I'm about to go through comments, so I don't want to get too back in the weeds here.
I mean, there are guys that are out there that if they do miss a gear, you're never going to know that they missed a gear.
Right.
You're going to have the guys that, prefer an automatic over a stick. You're going to have, as far as AI, I believe that AI is coming about because people are getting lazy. People don't want to work.
There's
I
good
believe
part.
it's also,
yeah, there's a good place for that argument to make sense. I do kind of agree with that.
but I also agree that it's, it's hard to negotiate with a computer, because it doesn't have the human factor to it.
Right.
I believe it's a great way to control what a driver can make or an owner can make.
Okay. All right. So in terms of now, let's put a different side of this in. In terms of just the effect AI would have on our discussion. We have now something artificial that could possibly affect what we do. When we're talking about shifting a truck, it's really basic stuff. I'll be honest with you. I kind of stand on the side Fate talks about with these trucks today, not with the trucks you guys drive. Your dump trucks and all that. Hey, I got your message, Fate. Sorry about that. And, do what you got to do, my friend. But with those older trucks, you can't replace the human element. So you guys' argument to that is absolutely outstanding and true. But with trucks like today, different story, because sometimes these computers sense things going on, like in the case where you're bogged down in mud. Maybe a newer truck would possibly never move. I don't know. I can't answer that question. But they're trying. Well, by all means, go ahead.
And I say this because I've witnessed it firsthand, because I have a friend of mine that has 6 trucks that are all automatics.
Right. Okay.
And I will go places and run circles around them because they can't.
Yeah, there's room where technology sometimes cannot replace. And I'm not challenging that at all. You are so true. There are certain circumstances.
I'm just saying, in my application, an automatic doesn't belong.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And artificial intelligence, hell, we can't get normal intelligence in this industry.
Yeah, that's like the old argument about military intelligence. We won't go down that rabbit hole. Let me catch up with some comments. Richard Davis, time for minimum freight rates, just like minimum wage. Somebody want to weigh in on that?
I do.
Go ahead, Thumper.
I was waiting on that one because you pulled that up, and it's like, okay, you want to minimize, or you want to put a minimum freight rate. Okay, you want to sit there and complain about the freight rates. This is something we've been talking about for almost a year now that I've been on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Quit accepting the rates if they're too low for you. Simple as that. If somebody else wants to go ruin their business, go let them. It starts.
Well, that guy kind of goes with the question I asked. I think it was Dollar earlier. When it comes down to it, do you really care what somebody else does? But what you should be doing is considering the best you can do.
Yeah, no,
so,
and honestly, the people, most I've done some statistics here. Or some research, sorry.
No.
The people who bitch about the minimum freights, they work for a company. They don't own their own truck.
Right.
So what does it care as long as they're making their paycheck, what their company's paying them? What does it care? What does it matter to them?
Yep.
If there is something out there in this industry that you don't like, ignore it. Let somebody else ruin their business. You do you, boo.
Yep. Welcome to the show, Trucker Mike. Thank you for your comment. He says, I don't think AI needs to be behind the wheel at all. I don't trust it. See, that right there is at least 2/3 of the industry right there. That comment sitting right down below. That's 2/3 of the industry. That statistically is proven. He says, I never thought about AI taking over from the brokers, but good point. Might benefit in that regard. Yeah. Well, see, my thing is, and here's where I came into this argument, just totally talking about this. Okay, Uber Freight is but one company. All right. Think about the amount of companies that, like my fellow YouTuber I pointed out earlier, says there has too much foreign influence. If we can get that out of the industry and maybe not supplant it completely, but have AI deal with that backlog or that, change that would, if we get rid of people that aren't even in the States, that by itself would be a positive change. And I think AI is the right way to do it. As long as one of the concerns by one of the panelists earlier, and I don't remember who it was, as long as negotiation, I think it was you, Dollar, is something we don't lose.
I think that's the biggest thing you're going to lose through AI is negotiation.
Yeah.
Not only for, somebody sitting there going, oh, I need this load. I just need it to make it home. Sometimes you can get a couple $100 out of it to get where you need to get home.
The old trucker in the house. Go check him out on his on his YouTube channel. Terminator, he says. He thinks it's going to be Terminator. I don't think it's quite that bad, but yeah. Hey, look, you don't know if something's going to work until you try it. And like Faye pointed out earlier, they've already got this stuff instituted, and you guys don't even know it. And that's the scary part of it.
So the next thing I got is, how big brother is it going to be?
Well,
it's gonna know where you picked up, where you're dropping off.
And that's where the data issue came up that I raised during the intro of the segment. We don't yet have any rules regarding data and engagement. We don't. They're not set. It's just open season right now. So you bring up a good point. What is going to prevent people that don't need to exert control from being able to do it through this? Good point.
What's going to stop people from taking that data and issuing you a speeding ticket for the miles that you've run, which if a DOT officer has, and it's been proven time and time again in the past, that
I don't think it takes AI to do that. Because, I mean, if there's a DOT officer out there that has any understanding of math skills, he can do that on his own. You don't need AI for that.
But there's a lot of them now, like going through the port of entries in Montana, in Wyoming, different places going out west, that if you go across their state too much, they will send you a ticket in the mail because you were speeding going across their state.
But you don't have to pay that ticket because they have no proof that it was you.
That's the thing. You need proof in order to issue a ticket and make it stick, and that's just it. You can
the thing is it doesn't matter. It tags to your license, and when you go to redo your truck license or your car, whichever the case may be, you still have to pay it because they will not let you register your truck.
You could fight it though, and it'll get thrown
Any
out
state,
because they can't prove that you were in the driver's seat.
Any state, every state has the same adherence to our civil rights. That is, if a state burdens you with a guilty or a criminal complaint, the burden of proof falls on them that you actually committed the crime. If they can't prove it was you without any doubt, then they can't charge you with it. And that's where they get that's where a lot of people lose touch, because they don't realize, okay, just because you receive a ticket, you automatically have to assume the burden of proof's been met. I don't assume nothing.
Well, see, I remember a story that the Mr. Walnuts, the bougie cattle hauler, told me about him running through Texas going up the toll road. When they took a picture of him speeding running up there, and it's had a clear picture of him in the seat.
You want to elaborate on that, Walnuts?
Just like Dollar just said, the boss lady got a picture of me. You could see me in the driver's seat smoking a cigarette. She said she could almost read the words on my hat.
Oh, God.
They had my speed, the speed limit in the area, which she did see I was keeping up with traffic. I wasn't just being an idiot.
Yeah.
But she let me know that I needed to slow down on Texas toll road.
Yeah. Okay.
Very politely, I will add.
Right. All right. Just want to take a moment. All the viewers watching the show, if you take a moment, go down below. Please like this video program. I have currently, as the last time I looked, 907 subscribers. My mission with this channel is to reach out and touch as many truckers with news, insight, and information to help you collectively make trucking great again. I do this because of you, not in spite of you. So go down below, become a subscriber, like this show. Please check back with us as frequently as possible. It just gets better every show. And I certainly thank everybody for watching. Let's get into some more of these comments, because this is turning into be a good show tonight. Richard Davis says, this is all part of the problem of trucking if you don't care what the broker makes. He's kind of, I think, on this whole broker transparency thing. You know, I'll be honest with you. I mean, broker transparency has its pros and cons. And honestly, I don't think it's really a valid argument to fight, because knowing what a broker has invested in a load doesn't change what I want in that load. I mean, if a broker is vested into a load for $1,000 and I see that load is 200 miles, okay, if I want hypothetically $1,800, I don't care what the broker has in it. I care what I'm getting paid. I don't care about the broker. He's the last one on my mind.
That's not the reason behind the broker transparency. The broker transparency is based off of them charging the customer $4,000 and only wanting to pay you $1,500 to do the load.
Right, and I get that, but you know the whole argument over what they get versus what the trucker gets is where all this started. Because the trucker don't care what the shipper's paying. All the trucker's concerned with is what the truck is making.
Well, there again, I can go with the shipper. You know, if they're charging them, say, we'll just take a really ridiculous number, saying $6,000 for 500 miles,
Right?
and they're only want to paying you, you know, $2,000 to go that 600 miles. Why couldn't I skip that broker and go directly to that customer and get it for $4,000 and make just as much money?
Yeah, yeah. Well, as long as we're able to still make a decent living, you know, Trucker Mike says, I always enjoyed trucking, and I still do. Honestly, don't want my passion for a truck being taken away from me, which goes into what we're saying. I mean, it's abundantly possible that could happen if others are in control of rates to the extent that we're not. And that's really the only threat of influence that AI poses, is that we lose that control. And that's one of the things I put into the description of the video tonight, is if we lose control and we suddenly are unable to negotiate rates that work for us, that's what's going to hurt us. And what Trucker Mike says will then be true. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Yeah. Hammy, you've been pretty quiet on this. I mean, you got any say so on this whole AI thing? I mean, let me have it, bro.
I've been quiet a little bit because I'm giving my boys a bath too.
Yeah,
I'm trying to multitask. Well, they're squealing, so I'm muting, and yeah, I don't think you need that in your ear.
No,
but
no.
But no, it.
Can we go down to the last comment made here?
Okay.
Which one?
One from Richard.
Richard Davis. He says, you can't tell me if you knew the load was paying $4,000 and it was given to you for $2,000, you wouldn't be mad. That's not the point. The point is you're trying to do it to where you make money, because just like everything else, you know, tires went up 30% at January 1st.
There
so
it is.
now a set of drive tires costing, you know, that's the biggest thing that you're trying to do is cover your cost and put a good money in for your pocket for your family, regardless.
Well, at the end of the day, that's what this whole thing is. You've got to not only feed your family, but you've got to be able to fix the truck, and you've got to maintain an operational status that it keeps you above water. And if you can't, I mean, you can't expect, you know, like, take what he's saying. You can't tell me if you knew a load was paying $4,000 and give it to you for $2,000 that it wouldn't make you mad. No, it would make me mad, but that would also give me information to negotiate a rate other than the $2,000 they're offering. You know,
well,
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that regardless of whether I know it's $4,000. I'm going to assume it's higher because I'm going to get as much as I can for that truck. So yeah, it might make me a little sore, but not complete. It's not going to be a game changer for me.
So, do you actually just said something that a lot of people don't do, and that's negotiate?
Exactly. Yeah.
People think that, oh, this is what they're paying. No, that is a starting base. When they call you or you call them on that load, you'd be like, no, I could do it for this much, and you always shoot it higher for what you actually do.
Let me answer the very next comment he puts up. Richard, I get what you're saying. He's saying, what the hell is broker transparency about if it doesn't make you mad? Let me tell you what it is about, okay? It's about a bunch of people that think if they know things they don't have, they'll gain a competitive advantage. You know, you take this very same discussion we're having about rates, and you take it back 20 years. There's no way 20 years ago we could have even guessed what a shipper was paying a broker. Hell, brokers were in their infancy 20 years ago. I wasn't in trucking, so I don't know it all, but I can guarantee you one thing. The whole game was changed. The moment the words broker transparency were even entered in to the same sentence at the same time. Just because you know something doesn't mean you're owed something.
Well, take it this way. If you work an everyday job and you get paid $25 an hour and you're going to go look for a different job to make more money.
Right.
Now, they only want to pay you the same rate you're getting now, but you know what everything they're doing. That
Right.
doesn't that make you mad that you don't want to get more money? That's
Well, how
basically
foolish
what
would you be?
trucking transparent. That's what we're doing here with the transparency is making it so we can make a living.
Right. But the thing is, how foolish would you be to make the assumption that you can find something and leave a job before you found something? See, that's just it. Every time you make a move like that, you always cover your bases. At least most people I know do anyway. You know, you
There's a
cover
lot
your
of people out there that don't quit a
bases with that wall, you know.
but there's a lot of people out there that have quit a job before they even have a start of a new one.
True. But does that make it our problem, or does that make it the broker's problem? To use it in our argument, just because people make irrational or unthought through decisions, why should that now then reflect on the rest of the industry? You know, all I'm worried about is me, and that's really all that we all should be worried about. Broker transparency at the end of the day isn't going to help me at all. It's not going to do a thing for me. What's going to do a thing for me is paying me the respect of knowing that if I'm running a truck that costs me whatever money every month, that I can make that money and still feed my family. You know, broker transparency ain't going to help that at all. It ain't going to solve that. It ain't going to change it. You know. Let me see. I'm moving on.
The AI broker transparency. I haven't looked at Uber Freight yet. I'm going to have to now. Do the companies enter it and say, "Hey, this is what I'm paying," or does Uber Freight 2,000 miles? We want $4,000, $4,500 for 2,000. How does it? Is there a calculation for it all?
Don't know enough about that, so you know. But to use your example, I'm going to get as much as I can because I got to fuel the truck. I got to put, you know, money aside for wear and tear for that 2,000 miles. That's not free, you know.
So Uber Freight pretty much came around during COVID when everybody was doing that social distancing crap.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to sit there and put in play. We're past that.
Yeah.
But they're still trying to push it.
Yeah.
You know,
let me know. I'm gonna start the truck. It's getting a little warm in here. Let me know if besides the dinging you're hearing, if any of that background noise bothers you. Let me know in the comments. Let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna move on to some more comments. Just started using ChatGPT. Says make trucking great again. Good name, by the way. Glad you're back. Thank you for joining us. Gives a lot of good information on the trucking industry. I asked AI why are truck drivers leaving the industry. Was accurate. You know, AI is good at one thing, and it's regurgitating information that's publicly available. And see, right now, I think AI is limited by that fact alone. It's still learning. So if you've got a lot of public information out there about rates, schedules, and people and drivers and locations, it's great for what's happening right now. But in terms of the predictive sense, I don't trust it. What do you guys think? I mean, for example, what the whole argument started on was eliminating empty miles. I mean, they can sit there and say that they've eliminated 15 to 30%, but I don't get it. I don't believe it. I don't get it. So
I'm gonna like what we're talking about. I'm not gonna lie, really doesn't affect me.
No,
because what
think about it this way: would you be well served by a savings of, let's say, 30% of the miles you drive every day?
Again, it doesn't affect me.
Explain why.
In a way, yes, it does.
Humper, explain why. I know where you're going. Explain
my
why.
rate, what I get paid per mile, covers my deadhead back to where I need to go because of what I do in the industry.
Right.
I haul. A lot of you guys know I haul cattle. I just got done doing a run. You guys know me. I will not say rates.
Right.
But
No,
they pay me good enough where I went from Belfouche, South Dakota to Kearney, Nebraska, which was roughly 550, 600 miles.
Yep.
And I drove all the way back from Kearney, Nebraska back to Bismarck, North Dakota, which is about 475, 500. It pays me good enough that I could do that. Could I have sat down in Kearney, Nebraska and waited for another load? Yes, but I had to come back to the shop because I need to get some work done on my truck and
Right.
other stuff. But
Great.
in my line of work, I don't deal with AI. I deal with human interaction. The people I pull for
in your
they
line
call
of
me.
work, the other thing that those in the audience may not know, in your line of work, you've got pretty much predetermined places you go. So negotiating rates versus this, that, and the other thing ain't going to help you anyway, because you already know where you're driving. And the reason your deadhead's factored in is because you're going to have to drive it anyway.
Well, and
So,
I'm a specialty cargo too.
There you go. Yeah.
So
yeah.
the rate is a little higher. Yes, in this line
Because
of
of that.
work, there is load boards out there where you can get cheaper freight and stuff and whatnot like that. But the way I have it figured out, or the way we have it figured out, we could afford that. Yes, can we maximize our profit picking up freight coming back to North Dakota? Yes, I could have. But did I want to sit there and wait for a day or two over a weekend when nothing's hardly moving? No, I'm going to come back to the shop because there we go. That's why that name sounds familiar.
Okay.
Sorry, there's a comment that just popped up. You'll see the comment. You know exactly
Bull
what
Spider.
I'm talking about.
Bull Spider. Yep. I'm going with what's on the screen. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, Thumper.
No,
Bull
it
Spider,
isn't.
but it'll choke you out. Thank you for joining. Yes, and that's, I guess, your thought on AI, but I don't know. Which one specifically are you talking about, Thumper?
The last one that just came in. We had this discussion last week's show. Go back and
Let's
watch
see if
it.
you can answer this question. Why does the DOT say livestock haulers can't do their jobs safely using an ELD? Good question. All right.
We
Everybody
just did
on the
this
panel,
last week.
Open season. Give them an answer. Let's
The reason
talk
for
about
that is you pay market value on the animals that you haul. So if you have to stop, take a 10-hour break, and you can't get them off the trailer, not only in that case, but you have to pay to have them put somewhere.
And here's another fact. Probably I know this, and I'm not in y'all's business. But if you take a long period of time like that to deliver a cargo that could be delivered in a short period of time, there is degradation. In other words, the weight of that cattle will be less upon delivery. Not much, but that little bit will have a huge effect.
And it's already figured in. It's called loss.
Well, yeah, I didn't know the term for it, but
yeah, during transit, you've always got loss.
If you put in an unscheduled break, like to use his example, 10 hours, you can't recoup that. You can't get that back. Well, I know
ELDs
that.
don't record time only. They record where you go. If you brake hard, they basically a tattletale.
Yeah.
Hard acceleration, hard starts, rapid lane changes. It records all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
whatever. I just I
knew
that name sounded familiar.
Another comment.
I'm trying everything in my power to not lose my shit right now.
Another. A little bit ago, Richard made the comment about deregulation in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Deregulation had nothing to do with the regulations that govern truck drivers. Deregulation was to get rid of the ICC, which regulated rates and routes.
Yep.
Again.
Once again, guys, studio line 860-785-3547. If you want to chime in through our audio line, our studio line is 860-785-3547. Give us a call. Get involved. Don't be part of the silent majority. Be part of those that want to speak up to solve the industry's problems. Keep going, man. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. Like I said, BossMan, we had this discussion last week, which tells me he did not watch the show last week. I run an ELD, and I do my job safely.
Right.
So before you go into the comments and start throwing these accusations out, you should get your facts straight.
Well, and then too, Dumper, be careful, because he may be a trucker in the same standing with a different set of experiences. He may not know what we know, and he may not know specifically what you know. So we got to be careful on that. I respect.
It's a conversation that we've been having with him for a while, and we try telling him it's someone who doesn't want to listen.
And I respect the fact. I respect the fact that every one of the panelists, you included, have a difference of opinion. You know, Faye come on earlier and he talked about, the efficacy of an automatic transmission versus a manual. Don didn't exactly agree with what he said. He had a different take. But I still was entertained with the idea that we can have this discussion. And then also, we fast forward to now, where we're suddenly having a realization that ELDs are a major conflict. You feel one way, Richard Davis feels another. Whereas others, even watching the show, have a whole different take on this whole AI versus broker transparency discussion.
Yeah.
It is all credible stuff we're talking about. And the only way to reach a consensus that makes everybody in the industry capable of making trucking great again is by having these discussions and by having the ability to know that when you come up on my show, you can say what you need to say.
Well, and I mean, I understand that. It's just, it's the fact is you're sitting there saying that it's unsafe to be on an ELD. Yep. Well, you know what? I'm on an ELD. I know how to use.
That's what the DOT is saying.
His comment right down below is a perfect example. He said, how many truck drivers have made comments on the government website on what regulations to get rid of? Not that it would matter, but you never know. Think about it.
Yes, there should be a lot of regulations out there that should be getting rid of. I understand that.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is you want to keep bringing up this unsafe ELD stuff in the livestock world. You want to say livestock is exempt from the ELD. I run an ELD.
Unsafe, but who's making that call? Is that a government agency, or is that one person in the comments, or is that just experience overall? I mean, because honestly, out of everybody on this panel, how many of us are forced to run ELDs?
I'm not forced.
Well, you run a kind of truck that allows you to run the kind of logs you do. There are exemptions that allow for certain older trucks that don't have the capability of communicating with ELDs. Right now, you don't have to. So that works for you guys.
But
that should be the other start.
To be technical and to be correct.
What's that?
They do have the information. They do have the ability to put ELDs on new trucks.
Yeah.
It was the government's feeling that if they did that, they would lose a lot more in production of moving freight across the country.
I'm gonna unplug my microphone for a second. I'm gonna walk over to my truck and I'm gonna show you something.
By all means.
Most large companies run ELDs because they run newer trucks. That's why the government used the 2000 year as a cutoff.
Okay.
Just like Dollar was saying.
Yep.
But that's fine because these new guys, they couldn't figure out how to do a paper log if they had to anyway.
Yep.
I was going to say that was the big push. Warner started the LDs because their drivers
government made them.
Well, yeah, their drivers could not do a logbook.
Yep.
Well, not only that, but they could not.
What we're looking at, guys, is a
ELD plugged into Thumper's dash.
9 pins. Yep. I see it. 9-pin connectors. Yep. And when Thumper gets back, I want you to when you get back on the microphone, Thumper, remind us what year your truck is. In the meantime, we have a caller on the line, so I want to introduce him into the conversation. Welcome to the show, caller. Tell us who you are and what's on your mind, sir.
Hey guys, how are we doing? A lot of the guys on the panel already know me. Thumper, Hammy, you guys know me as Lowfoot.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Glad you could call. So what's on your mind, sir?
Just wanted to kind of throw in a little weigh-in opinion on the whole ELD thing.
Okay.
I kind of get where both of these guys are coming from. One guy thinking the ELDs are unsafe, and fair aspect. I've lived on ran paper logs, I ran ELDs, and it's all understandable. There's both views can be
the light on?
in multiple ways.
No, I don't want it.
But ELDs they're only unsafe if you don't manage your time correctly. That is what ELDs are teaching a lot of these drivers to do nowadays, is learning how to manage a clock and manage your day.
So you think it's strictly just a time management issue and it's not so much the control?
It is. It is. Running an ELD, OTR, I've done that myself. When I first did it, I came out of running a paper log, and a lot of it was stressful right out the bat. Feeling like you're trying to race against time all day, every day. But it's one of those that you got to keep it in your head that safety is better than time. The load's gonna get there no matter what. It just needs to get there in one piece, and you need to get home safe.
True. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we got to think about it. Which came first, the ELD or the log? Because the 11-hour and 14-hour clock we currently run was on long before the ELD started. So you can't blame the ELD for the problem. Time management, to your point, caller, is strictly, where everybody needs to step up and learn more.
I can agree with that.
Okay.
I think it all boils down to guys need to. It's keeping your door closed. It's doing what you're paid to do and what you're out here to do. You're out here to drive to make a living.
Yeah.
Guys with important families, what have you.
Yeah.
Keep the door closed. Keep it in the seat and get down the road. Get down where it needs to go.
That's it. Well thought. I think you thought about that before you called me. I'm glad you said it that way. Keep the door closed. That's a good point. Because, regardless of the time management issue, the less you stop and the less you BS around and run effectively whatever you have, whether it's an ELD or your own logbook, the more money you're going to make. So good point, caller. I'm glad you and I didn't ask you your name. You mentioned it, but it flew right out of my head.
A lot of the guys know me as Lowfoot on social media.
Love
My
button.
name is Jacob.
All right. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do not, sir.
Okay. I was going to give you a chance to push it out and let people know you're out here. What social media do you go by?
Lowfoot 29 on TikTok. If anybody would like to come on and
There you go.
Littlefoot 29.
Well, sir, I certainly appreciate
Littlefoot. Okay, I know who that is.
Okay.
So I could hardly hear them. So
Okay. Was that same true for you, Dollar Hammy? Did you guys have trouble hearing him?
Yes.
Okay. Guys, I apologize.
It was there.
I apologize for that. I'm testing a different setup in my truck, so I'm trying to, because I got a Bluetooth style of this kind of mic ordered, so we'll be able to pipe through eventually the phone calls with more clarity. So until then, I'm trying to make do with setups that work. To that, I apologize. Lovebug, I appreciate the call. I appreciate your perspective. I'm going to open the line.
No. It's Littlefoot.
it's Littlefoot, not Lovebug. Littlefoot.
Oh, Littlefoot. Okay. I'm lousy with hearing too, so glad you called, and certainly don't hesitate to call back again.
Yep. Thank you very much for the time. Y'all have a good night.
All right, you too. Be safe. Keep it rolling.
Don't worry, boss man. He'll still get that name on TikTok later.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah, all right. Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead. Give it to him. Give it to him.
I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
answer your question from earlier because you said once I get hooked back up to my microphone, I'm going to
Yes.
answer. There's a couple other comments in the section that I want to briefly.
Yeah, I want to rip through them because I'm gonna
but
wind in the show down.
I want to point out a couple of things, and then
Certainly.
I
Go ahead.
need to step off camera for a minute because
Okay.
my blood is. My truck is a '96 with a 3406E cat motor in it.
Okay.
You know, it's ELD exempt, but as you guys just saw, it is hooked up.
Right.
And I'm an owner operator. I chose to run ELD.
Yep.
You get a 6-hour window. Actually, 6 hours added onto your time on your 14-hour clock.
Explain how that works, because a lot of people just hear that number and they don't know exactly what you mean by that.
I'm going to let Dollar explain that one because he explains it a hell of a lot better than I do. He knows how to put it in words a lot better.
Layman's terms.
Because yes, and I'm not mad because I can't answer questions. I'm mad because you're not listening. Sorry, I got to step off.
Go ahead.
The biggest thing is called Map 21.
Right.
And covering Richard's question here. Yes, they said it was unsafe for livestock haulers because they didn't have anything in the rules to help deal with the animals.
Okay.
That's why they got exempt. So what they did is they come up with what they call Map 21.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started, you got either 3 hours or 172 driving miles from where you loaded out. So 172 driving miles, 3 hours, whichever it works out the same. Now they changed it and decided that that wasn't enough. Everybody needed 3 hours to also get there because guys were running short on hours because of where they were going, delays, traffic delays, whatnot. You had to make sure the animals got there regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And,
now, how much of that has to do with planning?
You can be the world's greatest planner, but at the end of the day, you can't stop somebody that wants to make a left turn going down the interstate and bottle up traffic for 4 hours.
Well, true. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that can happen between A and B, but I mean, like most regular drivers, we kind of account for that. I mean, I don't know if you guys have a different standard, but somebody's going to do stuff like that.
But as far as the
it's the same for me.
Though, is it's harder to plan your trip because if you try to plan your trip where you can get them off the truck for 10, 12 hours so they can eat and drink, you're probably going to go out 100 to 150 miles out of route to be able to do that.
Sometimes more.
Yes, because there's not any place for it.
Right. Yeah. Well, especially up in the country that you guys run. I mean, goodness knows there's a limited number of state route and highways that you can actually run. Let me catch up on a couple more comments here. Trucker Mike says special freight or niche working for a private fleet is typically not affected with broker freight compared to general, which sucks. Even for us company drivers, it affects us too. I don't know. You're maybe in a better place, Thumper. I don't know if you wanted to chime in on that.
Oh, what was that? Sorry.
Special freight or niche working for a private fleet. They're typically not affected with broker freight compared to general, which sucks. Even for us company drivers, it affects us too. I guess he's going back to the AI discussion we were having earlier.
Everything I do is on contract.
Well, I figured it. He starts it out saying special freight or niche freight. So I mean, you could speak to the validity behind that.
Yeah, I mean,
it goes to what we were saying earlier. It's either going to affect you or not. But in your case, it's really not going to affect you one way or the other.
No, and it doesn't. But there are livestock companies out there that run on the load board. I really wish Ryan Bray was, Ryan. I'm not going to say his last name. I really wish he was here because he runs the load board a lot. So, I mean, he would be able to answer that one a lot better than I can.
Well,
Ryan doesn't
okay.
Ryan doesn't run load board.
He has customers.
When I talk to him, he runs the load board a lot when we're off.
Jeremy runs the load board a lot.
His boss runs the load board.
But he would get an understanding on that a lot better, is what I'm getting at. In my situation, I'm contracted. So, you know, but, you know, and it's just like the reason why and I do gotta apologize to everybody who's watching. I mean, I'm worked up because
you're human. You're human.
Yes, I'm human. But this goes
Stop
back to
apologizing.
just hold on.
Wait,
The
he's
reason
human?
why I get so worked up over this whole ELD and everything else is because we get these punk ass, I call them kids.
Careful. You don't know if this fellow's younger. He might be older. He might be talking.
I'm just saying, people who think that us livestock haulers are these badass guys who could disobey the law. Oh, hell no.
Now that I can speak to. That I can speak to, because you know what? Not every book is exactly what the cover reads to be. You know what? You appreciate a profession when you work it, when you understand it, when you ask the questions. So to defend your point, Thumper, maybe these individuals that think that livestock is this mad dream of being an outlaw and a renegade, maybe they should take the time to ask the right questions. Now, that's not completely defending you, but at the same time, you know, that's a majority of the industry's problems right there can be solved by doing the very thing that we are doing on this show right now. We are creating a dialogue. We are doing something to help people understand what it is to be in trucking, what it is to make trucking great again.
See,
I mean, that's how you solve problems.
You have a system that works for you. I have a system that works for me. And I obey to all the laws. I got the green book in all my trucks. And I know Don was going to pipe up here. And it says there's a red book out there, which I didn't know about. But I do. I follow the rules and everything else just like everybody else does. I run an ELD because it works for me. And it's actually a lot easier for me to keep track of everything.
Yep.
You know, because I gotta go in and fix stuff because I'll forget to hit off duty or whatever. But that's just like any other company. You know, we're human. We're not AI. We're still. That's what this show is all about.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yes, we do. We have all the same rules. I have the same rules that you do, except for I have a thing called agriculture exempt, which allows me to run a little bit longer than you do. I got to keep all my truck up to this. I got to follow logs. I got to
It's a tool. It's a tool just like AI. And despite everybody's belief, you know what? Tools are meant to be understood, learned, and used.
And if you use
That's
them
what it's all
correctly,
about.
if you use them correctly, they benefit you.
Yep. Exactly. So definitely keep in touch. Become a subscriber. Take every chance you get to ask the unanswered question, because it is when you ask the question that you become able to help make trucking great again. Final word, you Thumper.
You know, I actually don't have anything tonight. I really don't. We started off as AI. I saw a comment that caught my attention. It set me off because
we taught people something. We taught people something.
And
at the end of the day is what it's all about.
And I'm not claiming that I know everything. What I know works for me.
Yep.
And I think that's the main rule right there. You got to find out what works for you. I can't speak for DOT or anything else. They come up with the rules. I got to abide by them just like everybody else.
Yep.
And I make the best of everything I have and what I do. Yep. And yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. You got to read into it. If you have questions, ask. That's the main thing. You gotta ask questions if you're unsure. Don't assume that you know everything.
Never assume nothing.
Never assume that. I mean, I've been doing this long enough. I still ask questions.
Yep.
So I guess that's kind of all I really got for tonight. God bless everybody. God bless everybody. EMTs, firefighters, military personnel, they don't get enough love like they're supposed to. So that's kind of my shout out to them. And like Bo and I always say, we don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
Amen to that. Continue looking at our show for answers on how to make trucks great again. Remember, it's the trucks that make the delivery, but it's you that make the difference. While you're out there, keep it real, keep the faith, and for God's sake, keep it rolling.